Hey guys! So today I'm going to be doing my June wrap-up video, and for the month of June my theme was just read June. This was basically a month where I read whatever my little heart desired, a variety of authors, a variety of genres, and it really appealed to me because while I thought I was going to be getting time off beginning in the beginning of June, I ended up having to work a couple of extra weeks, so it was nice to not have to stick to a scheduled reading type of thing because I had to stick to a schedule with work, so it was just nice to kind of have that, I don't know what the word I'm looking for is. It was just nice to have that variety and to have that option. So the first book that I picked up in June was We Were Liars by E. Lockhart. This is a book that is like spreading like wildfire across the booktube stratosphere. But I have to be the person that says no. I didn't really enjoy We Were Liars that much. We Were Liars follows a girl named Cadence. Every summer, Cadence spends her summer on her grandfather's island with her cousins, her aunts, her uncles, and also one of her cousin's best friends, Gad. Now, Gad and Cadence form this very quick relationship. They just get each other. It's like one of those relationships, you know. Gad is very into politics. He's very into being right. He's very into just giving back what he can. Cadence, despite her wealth, you don't really get a whole lot of those feelings there. And right away, that kind of made me feel like, so why is Gat even interested in her? I didn't really feel like the Gat and Cadence thing was realistic. Cadence as a character, I just thought she was very underdeveloped, very whiny, very just bleh, very like poor little rich girl. There was nothing appealing there to me. Going off on a tangent here. So Cadence spends her summers on the island every year, and one year while she is visiting the island, she is in a terrible accident. Following the aftermath of Cadence's accident, Cadence is trying to figure out what happened to lead to her accident, and slowly but surely she begins to put the pieces together of what happened that night. The conclusion is something that people are saying it is so shocking, so wow, so crazy, so unexpected, and I honestly have to disagree. While it did surprised me a bit, I kind of felt like it was very cliche in its climax. Like I had read books like this before, or I had seen movies like this before, and it was just like, what is the big deal? You know, I didn't get it. I honestly didn't get it. Overall, I gave We Were Liars 3 out of 5 stars because while I didn't necessarily love the plot or the conclusion or the characters, the writing was really well done, and I do feel like I'll probably pick up something more from E. Lockhart in the future. The next book that I picked up in June was Sharp Objects by Gillian Flynn. Now, I have never read a Gillian Flynn book before. I know that she is most praised for Gone Girl. Definitely going to be picking that one up soon, but I just have to say, if this is Gillian Flynn's debut novel and this isn't her most praised work, I'm going to have such high expectations for Dark Places and Gone Girl, and I'm also just so excited to read them because this blew my mind. I have been wanting to read a psychological thriller for a while now. I love psychological thrillers, but I've kind of veered off of them for reasons I cannot justify. This was exactly what I needed. And if you are looking for a psychological thriller, whether you read them or just want to get into them, Sharp Objects by Gillian Flynn. Not only is it incredible, it's also very short, so if you're just getting into psychological thrillers, you might not want to take on a huge, you know, 700 plus page book. Donatar, I'm looking at you. And this is what you should go for, without a doubt, without a doubt. Sharp Objects follows a reporter named Camille Preaker, and Camille has just left a brief stay at a mental hospital where she was being treated. Now I'm just gonna go ahead and make a little disclaimer here and say that there are some major triggers in this book. This book deals with lots of self-harm, not only with the main character, but with many of these side characters as well. Now, Camille just wants to get back to work. Understandably, she wants to move on. She wants to leave this stay at the hospital in the past and get better. But the very first assignment that she is given upon returning back to work is one that is going to send her spiraling back. The first assignment that her boss gives her is to cover a murder that has taken place in her hometown. Camille agrees to return to her hometown, and upon arriving, so many memories come rushing back to her, and she just has to deal with them on top of dealing with these horrible, horrible cases. This is a psychological thriller at its best. It really, really is. While the plot is nothing groundbreaking, it's nothing like, oh, I've never heard of that before. I'm sure there have been similar books written. But what makes this so different from all of those other books is Gillian Flynn's writing. She has this way of writing where it's very descriptive, but not in a boring way. And then she also winds in this beautiful prose, and it's just, Oh, it's so good. And the characters, while Camille was somewhat of an interesting character, she wasn't my favorite. And a lot of the times I feel like main characters aren't my favorites. I usually always go for the side characters, so this wasn't really anything different. The side characters were all very interesting, very terrifying, and just so messed up. So messed up. So messed up. Overall, I love Sharp Objects. I gave it 4.5 stars out of 5, and I cannot wait to read more Gillian Flynn. it is physically hurting me not to be reading her right now. The next book that I read in June was Shadow and Bone by Leigh Bardugo. I actually buddy read this with Adriana over at Perpetual Pages. Hey girl, hey. Now this is the first book in the Grisha trilogy, and the third book was just recently released, so I really wanted to read this one. I meant to read it back in February and I didn't, so June just seemed like the month to do it, and it was an experience. It was an experience, I will tell you this. So Shadow and Bone follows a young girl named Alina Starkov, and Alina has been orphaned by the border wars and spends her whole childhood in an orphanage. While that in itself is very sad, Alina makes fast friends with a boy named Mal, and they just become best friends and all the things. Now when Alina and Mal come of age, they are drafted into the war, and they have to enter what is known as the Fold, which is like this horrible wasteland that is just infested with monsters, and it's pretty bad. It's pretty bad. When their convoy is attacked while in the Fold, everything is falling to pieces, but then Alina reveals that she has a power that she never realized she had, and it ends up saving herself and Mal and most of their convoy. Once the royal court and the Grisha get wind of Alina's power, they take her to court and train her to realize what her true potential can be. One of the main characters is named the Darkling, and the Darkling takes an instant entrance to Alina because of her power, because he believes that her power is what can save the people and what can destroy the Shadowfold. Okay, I'm not gonna lie to you. I enjoyed the last 150, 200 pages of the book, but the beginning and part of the middle were kind of hard to get through. Alina as a character was not one that I was interested in. From the beginning, she just seemed like a petulant little brat. And if you're gonna be the main character and you're gonna be the one to hold the whole story, you need to be not that annoying for me to get behind it. Adriana and I actually talked about this a lot, how annoying it was that she was just so rude to people of the same sex. It was wrong, and it didn't help her to make me like her at all. Another thing that really bothered me about this book was the fact that the dialogue did not seem to fit with the world. The descriptions of the world were so beautiful. The scenery and the atmosphere that Leigh Bardugo created was out of this world. But then when you mix it with this dialogue it really seems like it just would kind of be more at home in a young adult contemporary. It did not mesh well. And then the story was just kind of dragging. It just wasn't really, but then I got to about halfway through the book, and from there on, it was really fast paced. It was just a lot more gripping. The dialogue and everything, you know, stayed the same, but I will say that towards the end of the book, Alina did a lot of growing as a character, and that made me have high hopes. That made me have higher hopes. The ending, while not, you know, like groundbreaking and explosive, it left me feeling very content. And while I'm not like, you know, racking my shelves to find the next book and to pick it up and read it, I'm definitely going to continue on with the series because there's so much promise, and I feel like it's just gonna get better from here. Overall, I gave Shadow and Bone 3.5 out of 5 stars. The beginning was definitely very lackluster for me, but the end of the middle towards the very end was what really pulled me in and really made me think, yes, this series has promise. I will continue on with it. I want to know what happens next. Yes. The next book that I picked up in June was Joyland by Stephen King. Joyland follows a college student named Devin Jones. Devin has recently had his heart broken by the very first love of his life. In order to kind of distract himself and get away from that, Devin takes a job up at Joyland. While he is there, he is told a story of a girl who was murdered in the House of Horrors. Now, while this does seem like a ghost story of sorts, Devin actually does the research and finds that it really did happen. The murderer was never found, and people have claimed to have seen the ghost of this young woman on the ride. This book was not what I thought it was going to be because I was expecting Stephen King every page spine-tingling activity, but it wasn't like that. It really wasn't that scary. I feel like it's more of like a thriller as opposed to a horror, and even so, it was very tame for a thriller. And overall, I was surprised at the lack of horror. I did want a horror story, but I ended up coming out with a story that had a lot of heart and a lot of love and a lot of characters that are just gonna stick with me, and it was really good. It was unexpected, but it was good. And I gave it 4.5 out of 5 stars. The next book is a book that I actually haven't finished, so I might be kind of cheating with, but you know, I'm gonna finish it tonight on June 30th. Before July 1st, so it's not really cheating. I just haven't finished it yet, so I can't give you a full review about it. But if you are interested in seeing a review separate from this video, I can do that. Anyway, that book is The Summer I Turned Pretty by Jenny Han. Now, I actually intended to read Invincible Summer by Hannah Moskowitz this month, but I read a couple chapters of that book and then I lost it, and I have no idea where it is. I can't find it in my room. I don't know if I left it somewhere, I don't know. So to fill that void, I decided to pick up another summer type of read, and I figured this one would be the perfect one to go for. A lot of people have said that this is just the perfect summer romance filled with lovey-dovey type of feels. That's kind of what I was going for. The story focuses on a girl named Belly, and Belly goes to a summer beach house with her family and her friend's family every summer. Belly has pretty much always been in love with one of the boys from her mom's friend's family, and his name is Conrad, and she's always been in love with him. The story is told in the present perspective and past perspective, accounting for different events that happened in previous summers that kind of led up to why Belly is so in love with Conrad. I liked that aspect of it, getting, you know, the past perspective of everything to kind of just see why she is so obsessed with this guy, because it's always nice to have that, because if a guy's just like, oh, I love him because he's so cute, it can get old really quickly. The present summer is told from Belly's perspective as she has turned beautiful all of a sudden. She's pretty now. This summer she's turned pretty, and people are starting to take notice. Not only Conrad, but Jeremiah, Conrad's brother, and pretty much it seems like every other boy who exists on this beach except for her brother. So I will say that pretty much everything that has happened in this book so far I have anticipated, I have expected, and it is pretty predictable in that sense, but it's still a good read. It's like a nice little beach read, which is what I was going for. So I felt like this has been the perfect read for me to finish up June. In the comments below, you guys can let me know if you have read any of these books, what you thought of them, if you liked them, if you didn't like them. Let's just get talking. I feel like I haven't talked to you guys in a while. I haven't posted a video in over a week. I'm sorry for that. I was just working really long days, so there wasn't a whole lot of time for filming and editing and uploading, but I'm back now and I've got a lot of things in store. I've got tags to upload and a book haul and my July TBR. I'm really excited for my July TBR, so stay tuned for that. Alright guys, so that's all for this video. I hope that you enjoyed it, and I will see you in my next one. Bye!